some judges want to do away with the tariffs, apparently. We'll see whether or not Pete thinks that's going to happen, or whether or not we just keep on appealing up to a higher and higher court. We'll see on today's Rebel's Edge. Bang.
And she's official.
Bang.
Yep. I'll tell you what, John, what a weekend of football. I mean, between the NFL and college football, and we got a lot of stuff in sports that we can have a little bit of fun with, I think. But big week when they finally kick it off. I mean, everybody's anticipating it, and with the NFL getting ready to roll now, that's it's back to football season, baby.
Oh, I mean, Bama, Florida State, that was an amazing game.
Yep.
LSU, Clemson, they showed them where Death Valley really is, Pete. We can talk about that. But, yeah, it is the Rebel's Edge, folks. We appreciate all of you joining us. We're going to dive right into macro. And macro, Pete, I'm going to say it's something like, well, there are activist judges out there that don't like what the president does and what the president is doing. And the president keeps appealing that stuff up all the way to the Supreme Court. And he keeps being basically supported at that level. But every activist judge on the way up seems to have a different opinion, even if they've only been a judge for 6 months, like the judge that just turned him down on the tariffs. But because of that turn down and because of the threat that they could actually be forced to refund, I can't imagine that, refund the tariffs back to the countries. That's why the market was under pressure from the opening bell today. Yeah,
no doubt about it, John. I mean, I think that was the biggest news story there is. There's also a couple of things that are interesting outside of that. And one of those is, you know, September tends to be the worst month of the year for trading. And what we see, it's really kind of remarkable. I think if you ask most people, they'd say October, right? But the actual answer is September. Interesting about that. We got jobs data coming later in the week as well. So we've got all kinds of macro that's coming at everybody, but the tariffs, that trumps it all, no pun intended. I mean, it's something that he's going to be making that fight. You and I were just talking about that last week with Connell over there at News Nation, and it was short, but it was sweet. And I think we were able to get to the points, John, about the fact that, yeah, this is something that's going to get fought, and I think it's going to go. I don't think the president will step down at all. If anything, he'll accelerate to the next level and whatever level he needs to get to. And I think that makes total sense, because when you think about it, we've been dealing with these tariffs for what, John? The better part of 50 or 60 years? And I mean, come on, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's only fair in one direction, right, Pete? I mean, in other words, they can tariff the heck out of our goods, 250% in some cases, but all of a sudden we fight back and an activist judge doesn't like it. I don't understand that, but that is how it goes. And I'll dive into the futures here, though, Pete, and I'll say it's still worth paying attention to whether or not we are supported long-term at 108 in Bitcoin, because at 108,000, Bitcoin bounced pretty good and went all the way back up to 111. Again, US dollar denominated Bitcoin. I think that's a story worth following, and that's why I say Bitcoin is my fantastic future.
I'm going to go right back to my go-to, John, which is the volatility index. I mean, the fact that it's up nearly 30% in a week, and we were down at 14, and now all of a sudden we're back up and we hit above 19 today. I mean, there's a lot of fluctuation going on right now, all for the right reasons. Let's be honest. I mean, this whole thing with the tariffs, that certainly is catching everybody's eye. And I think there's a lot of reasons why we should see that volatility could be elevated for a little while. I don't think we pull right back like we've done before when we jumped up to 20, John. And then we kind of looked at it and thought, well, it pulled back under 20 pretty rapidly. Maybe it's going to get all the way down. It did get all the way down to 14. But going forward right now from where we are, this is going to have to shake out a little bit before I think we get back and get anywhere close to 14 again.
All right. Well, time for a little small cap spotlight. And our small cap spotlight is OS Therapies, symbol OSTX. And two big pieces of news out this morning from our favorite clinical stage small cap biotech company, folks. First, they announced the completion of a conversion of warrants that were struck at $1.12. That's great news for two reasons. One, the company received $3.7 million in proceeds from that conversion. That's great for them because it's funding for research and more clinical trials. And elimination of those low-priced warrants will likely reduce some of that short selling pressure that has hit this stock. Stock's been $1.12 in the last year, Pete, and a lot of our folks, when they heard us talking about it, were getting in $1.50, $1.70, $1.80, and today it was up through $2.30 or something like that. So a really nice pop for the stock, even though, of course, it trades with the market. Second, the company announced details of the end of their phase 2 meeting with the FDA, indicating another milestone on the company's path to approval of its clinical stage pulmonary metastatic osteosarcoma therapy. So, as always, when we're long something like this one, long meaning we own it, hands like this, we own it, I want to disclose that to you, and we have been compensated as well as being shareholders. But that is our small cap spotlight today, OSTX, OS Therapies. All right, Pete, let's dive into some stocks, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, the stocks that we're watching today are all over the place, including this one, Pepsi, because Elliott Management, which we all know is an activist investor, they reported that they have taken a $4 billion stake. And they've done what I think Pete and I have said repeatedly, which is, wouldn't you rather have a pure play against Coca-Cola and then a snack food company on the side? But instead, they've got them both together. Elliott thinks, Pete, they should separate them, and Elliott takes a big stake so they can make that happen.
Yeah, this is big. I mean, a $4 billion investment into Pepsi is pretty amazing, John. And yeah, that's their strategic side of things, is they think that they ought to split that, right? Have the snacks here and have the drinks here. And if according to them, that proposal, it could potentially give the stock a boost of something close to 50% is what they said. I didn't say that. But it's interesting, John. The stock still isn't at the 52-week highs, which happened almost exactly 52 weeks ago. But the stock got all the way up to 179. Today, it's up at 153. That's as high as it's gotten. So is there a little bit of room to the upside? Sure, there could be. But it's interesting to see that somebody like Elliott Management decided to step in and make this play. It's a big play. I think that they probably are on the right side of this, as you were kind of intimating, John, when you were talking about Coke and the fact that that's just the liquids for the most part. But it's interesting. I think it's something that we should keep a very close eye on. I also like the fact that Pepsi along the way has been buying a stock that I was been involved in for a long time, Celsius, and they continue to add to that as well. So they've got their liquids. They've also got their snacks. I think this is a pretty nice company, and I think the way things look like right now because of Elliott probably gives us a bit of a pat on the back to say, hey, there could be room to the upside on this one.
What about Cytokinetics? How much more room do they have? Stock's up 35% today, Pete. Positive results from a phase 3 clinical trial showing that their cardiac inhibitor basically demonstrated wildly successful results. For that reason, shares are surging to the upside. And you know what, Pete? This is one of those where, yeah, back not too long ago, we had some unusual activity. Oh, really? I mean, when it was a $32.50 stock, which is basically where it had just trudged along for the last couple of months, somebody bought 5,000, which is 500,000 share equivalent of this name. They bought them at the 35 strike, paid $3.50. Those went to at least $13 today.
Unbelievable jump to the upside, like you were just talking about, John. The fact that it's phase 3 as well. I mean, a lot of the time when you and I are talking about a biotech type stock or whatever, they're in phase 1, they're in phase 2. They got a long way to go. This is not the case here. They're in phase 3. And I think that's what makes this one that much more interesting. The fact that the numbers they're putting up, John, are a lot stronger. The beta blockers that had been part of this whole thing and the substantial improvement that they're showing right now is absolutely incredible. So the pipeline that they've got with multiple different drugs out there, John, that are in phase 3, this is really, really an interesting stock, and I think it's still got room to the upside. That doesn't mean if you did get on those options that you shouldn't take some off. You probably should, in my opinion. That's the way we roll. But I'll tell you, the cash burn is still pretty high, so that's something to keep an eye on. There's also some shorts in there that are giving it a little bit of help with the squeeze. I love that we had the unusual option activity. I think you've got to be disciplined at this point.
Well, after cytokinetics, Pete, we've got another one selling off, and that is Constellation Brands, STZ. Now, these guys have aggressively accumulated a lot of liquor, Pete, and it, for a while, really helped the stock. Lately, it hasn't, and you know why? People are cut back pretty dramatically on how much liquor they consume. Now, maybe some of that is due to marijuana, cannabis being approved in a host of states. Maybe people are just being healthier. I don't know. But clearly here, updated guidance is down at least $1, at least 10% from where people had been expecting them to post the next quarter. And that's not good, Pete.
Not good at all. As a matter of fact, John, when they did report, they actually reported down as far as what the revised guidance that they'd had, and now they're going down again. So that, I think, is a real problem. That just shows you where they really stand right now. Like you were saying, people have cut back for whatever reasons that it might be, whether it's health or whatever. They've cut back. And there was talk, even in one of the articles that I was reading, John, that they had declines in the higher end beer side of things among Hispanic people. I'm amazed that they were able to get that kind of an information all the way down to the way they did it. But when you look at this stock, it's hitting 52-week lows today. It got underneath $150 a share. So the range has been 149 and change all the way up to 261. So you're sitting a long ways from those 52-week highs. I think that's a real problem that they're dealing with right now. The balance sheet itself still looks okay, but these guys are in a position right now where what they've got, people aren't willing to step up and buy the way they had been. That's going to be a problem for them for a while until they can figure out, how do people get back? How do you get those customers back? And that's not always easy, but that's what they're going to be dealing with.
Well, let's instead roll into a stock, Pete, that is up over $114 on the high. It's holding on to about $107 gain. That stock is United Therapeutics. Basically, revenue 714, almost 715 million. That's up 19%, Pete. When I saw this one this morning, I just said, oh, this is a blowout for these guys in a positive way. And it sure is. Revenue guidance, 2.7 billion to 2.8 billion. That's, again, higher than the street was expecting. And that, my friends, is why this stock is up over $100.
Well, they crushed it when they needed to. They needed to crush it. They did. You look at their revenue, John, up 19% year over year. That's not so bad. And then when you raise it, as you were just talking about, you raise that guidance. That's another one. That's not so bad. You know, so the focus on hypertension and the things that they're trying to do, they have significant results that are out there in their phase 3. That's a positive. So when you see something like that, you see the stock getting up over $400, $436, unless it's already gotten higher, that I don't know. But that's something. 52-week highs, absolutely. Up huge percentage, absolutely. This is a stock that is really rocking right now. Tell you what, when you get into phase 3 and you're a lot closer, John, it just shows you the kind of jumps that these stocks can make. Because when you're in phase 1, it's a long way to get all the way to phase 3 and then get this thing out there in front of the folks who got to give them the golden seal. But right now, this is absolutely an incredible run. Because it is phase 3, that's given them an extra boost, I think, because this is something that actually could be out there in not too distant future. And that's a good thing.
Very good thing. Yeah. Well, let's dive into some sports, Pete, because as you said, we had college football all over the place. We had pro football. I mean, a lot of us, this is our favorite time of the year. So I'll let you kick it off, and I'll join you on some of the observations about sports.
All right. So here's the thing. I think that there was a lot of shocking games out there, John, and I love the fact, and we discussed this last week, that there are highly ranked teams going up against highly ranked teams. I mean, the easiest one to point out is Ohio State and Texas, right? And the flop that Arch Manning was in this first start game that he had, it just didn't look good. It didn't. I mean, you watch that game and Ohio State dominated. Now, the score wasn't all that, dominating, but you watch the game, one team looked a hell of a lot better than the other, and that was Ohio State for the most part. And they had a new quarterback, and they have all these players that they had to fill all these holes. Well, they do a hell of a good job with that, and I think Ryan Day should get a lot more credit probably, John, than he gets, because everybody wants to fire him for losing to Michigan. But the reality is this guy only has a few losses on his entire record as a head coach. So I don't know. I think they might have to ease back a little bit on some of that. We also had LSU going, having a great game at Clemson. So that I think was kind of exciting. South Carolina with the coach Beamer, whose dad used to be the head coach at Virginia Tech. He took Virginia Tech out with that great quarterback that you and I were talking about just a couple of weeks ago. That kid is an animal, and he does an unbelievable job. Miami, Notre Dame, another great game. And Notre Dame came back in the fourth quarter. They almost got there, but they didn't quite get there, John. So Miami wins that one. It's one thing after another. How about Belichick in his first college game? Holy smokes. TCU said, you know what? You might have been good at New England. This ain't New England, and you don't have Tom Brady. And they were right, and they were right, because they smoked them, John, 48-14. That wasn't very pretty either. I got one that I'll throw out as a dark horse, and then you can comment on any of these things that you want, because this is a lot to talk about if we want to. But I'll give you the sleeper team of the year, Utah. They've been getting there closer and closer over time. It's a Big 12 team, really well-coached team. They always seem to be somewhere towards the end of the season where they've got a great record, and people are sort of scratching their heads about them, John. But they went over to UCLA and put a whooping on them like they haven't seen in a while. 43-10, Utah beat them. And if you want to go quarterback to quarterback, let's remember the UCLA quarterback is the Iamea Liavea, who is 11 for 22, John. He had a touchdown and interception. I'll tell you what, I think Tennessee just felt just good about how they decided not to pay him the money that he wanted. He went back to UCLA. UCLA got spanked, John. And I'll tell you what, the quarterback over at Utah, all he did was, he's 21 of 25. He had 2 touchdowns, and he ran for a touchdown. That's all he did. So I would say that he's doing pretty well. Devin Dampier is his name. He's a guy that I think over time, if he can continue this through the next few weeks, he might be one of those guys who people are going to say, hey, is this guy pretty damn good? Is this guy maybe a Heisman type guy? I mean, he's probably not. But, because he's Big 12 and all the rest of it. But I think the Big 12 is underrated. I really do. So what do you think about the big weekend, John? Anybody stand out?
Yeah, Carson Beck.
Yeah.
So, Pete, because of Carson Beck and the Miami, the U, looks like the U of old, I'm going to say, because, Pete, it wasn't like they called the dogs off on Notre Dame. Like you say, Notre Dame came back, I think, 17 points in the fourth quarter to make a game of it. But Miami was just beating the tar out of them. And one of the reasons was Carson Beck. And, of course, some acrobatic catches by his receiving core. But for them to look this good this early on, Pete, I'm going to say Miami would be my dark horse. And Carson Beck is right at the center of that.
He is good. He's one of those guys that, you look at him, he doesn't really look the role or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But there's a reason they gave him the kind of money they gave him in NIL, John, to come down to Miami and be their quarterback. And I think he showed up pretty well against Notre Dame, who's a great team, really well coached. They got talent everywhere. They got, offensive side, defensive side, all of it. But, yeah, Miami sure did look good. Secondly, how about this? Where do we stand on the Micah Parsons thing? Here's what I mean by that. I think every left tackle in the NFC North is sort of shaken. But the one thing I'd also throw into that, John, is they paid a lot of money for a guy who apparently has sort of an issue with an injury right now that wasn't really fully disclosed, but they passed him. But they didn't really realize that. So that's one thing. plus $180 million. I mean, that's a real number, I would say. And was he liked on the team in Dallas? I don't know. There's a lot of people that go back and forth on this whole thing, and that doesn't really matter to me, like or not like. But it's interesting that that's part of the jabber of this whole thing. But I'll tell you, John, it's going to be really interesting to see how he plays. One thing I would point out, because he's a great rusher, he gives up the run completely. If you go back and you look at the Dallas Cowboys over the last couple of years with him in place, the teams that are really smart run right at him because he's running upfield because he wants to get sacks. He wants to get to the quarterback, and that's part of his job. But the other part is you still got to be a football player. John, they were in the bottom 5 or 6 in rush defense since he's been with the Dallas Cowboys, and I think that's part of it. So other players are going to have to make up for that for Green Bay. Everybody immediately put them as the team in the NFC that potentially could be going up with Philly, and it's Green Bay and Philly going to the Super Bowl. Slow the Jets just a little bit. I still think the 49ers look pretty damn good. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers look pretty damn good. I think there are a number of teams. Washington still looks pretty damn good. There's a number of teams out there, John, who I think could be battling for this thing. And I didn't even say the Detroit Lions yet, so I'll say Detroit Lions as well. I don't know that this one trade made Green Bay as good as the rest of the world thinks they did.
Yeah, and you and I were, among the few perhaps that were calling for this trade.
Yeah,
maybe not the trade to Green Bay, but we said if you can get a couple first rounders and a player, and they did get a great run-stopping player, Pete, to your point about what Dallas really needed. They got that. They've got a couple first-rounders, and they didn't have to give $120 million guaranteed and $180 million contract to a guy that is a great player. I don't have any issue with the way Micah has performed, but I think that the better deal was had by the Cowboys rather than the Green Bay Packers. Time will tell, but this is one area that Jerry has been really good at, Jerry Jones, of course. And when he had traded in the past and got value, as in draft picks and players, he turned it into Super Bowl wins. Mm-hmm. If he does the same thing with this one, I'm not saying he will, but if he does the same thing with this one, judge him on it next year and the year after. And the fact that he cleared all that space on the what otherwise would have been salary cap, and instead now is Green Bay's problem.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about the whole thing, John, and I don't know if this was done on purpose or not, but Jerry at the press conference was calling him Michael, not Micah. I think it was just a little, but I don't know.
Well, folks, thanks for joining us today. We always appreciate it when you guys spend a little time with us. We will be back tomorrow. I'll be back, I think, from the Chicago Board Option Exchange, which is now called CBOE Global Markets, Pete. Mm-hmm. So we'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you do check out our virtual pass for the Rebel Boot Camp. It's in Miami, Florida, the 19th and 20th. And there are no seats available, but there are virtual seats available. And we're already into the triple digits of you. Thank you very much for your support that have decided to join us for that. We're really looking forward to it, and it's money well spent. So check out that virtual pass by scanning the QR code, and Pete and I will see you tomorrow.